NAB Show 2014, an intersection of technology, media, and entertainment. There is so much going on here. By now, you've gone hands-on with dozens of new products, heard from speakers, and are no doubt inspired to take your career or business, or both, to the next level. This is NAB Show Live, coming to you from NAB Show Studio One, right in the heart of it all at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I am Rich DeMiro. We have a great show planned for you. We're going to talk to folks from Huffington Post and Canon, and a guy who's been to NAB Show 51 times in a row. Now, let's take a look at some daily highlights.
So I would say just to be creative, you know, and try different things and spend little money trying things, because, you know, there's a lot of shows in this town that spend a shitload of money. I could say that?
Yeah.
On a bad idea, which will never make it a good idea. So you can't buy creativity. And there's so many people out there that have such successful clips because they didn't have money and it forced them to be creative. So money's not the answer. It's being creative and thinking about unique ways, angles, and being strategic about how you can do something that is effective in a very saturated world that we live in.
I'll show you another sensor later on called a wide area motion imagery sensor, which basically relies on stitching a whole bunch of cell phone cameras together to make a single picture. What we think we can do with a swarm is just keep dozens, maybe even hundreds of small aircraft up there, all with a relatively unsophisticated sensor up over a city, but the computer software will be sophisticated enough to stitch that sensor together into a single eye. So kind of think of it like a compound eye in a fly. We'll be able to do these with these swarming UAS. You can also get anything from the present time down to 30 days and past to the guys on the ground. So you get some soldiers run up to a building that looks a bit dodgy. They're not sure who's in there now. They're not sure who's been there since they've driven up. But you can play backwards and see if any cars showed up at that building. And so you'd know that maybe there's 5 or 10 guys in there because you saw a couple cars come up.
I really believe that in the house we're going to see a lot of 60 gigahertz stuff coming out for sure. At the same time, we're going to see a lot more in the 700 megahertz. We're going to see a lot more efficiency in modulation schemes. I think devices are going to become more efficient. Compression technology is going to help out with reducing some of the bandwidth that we use. You mentioned H.265 or HEVC as high efficiency video codec, as is defined as. It hasn't really hit us because it doesn't support interlace format, but it will soon enough.
The cost of the first human mission, the first 4 people that land on Mars, is about $6 billion US. And that's a lot of money, but it's not the end of the world. It's something that, well, maybe there's even a couple of companies right here in the room that have that kind of turnover in 1 or a couple of years. $6 billion is enough to get humans to Mars, and it is technically feasible. And now imagine, you guys are all in this business, now imagine having the most exclusive content in, I shouldn't say the world, I should say the solar system. You have the content of humans walking around on Mars. What do you think the value of that is? It's technically possible. We can finance this. Then why hasn't anyone done it yet? Well, our biggest challenge is really finding 4 people that can do this. And I was sitting here at the table, and all the questions that the people at my table asked were actually about the psychology. How do you find 4 people that can say, I'm going to leave everything behind? How do you make sure they're not crazy? How do you make sure that after 2 years they're not suddenly not interested anymore? Because you can't. If, as soon as the rocket leaves Earth orbit, there's no way back. You're stuck on Mars. There's 4 people coming every 2 years, but it's 7 months of flight to Mars before you're there.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, NAB is focused on providing a great value for its members. You get representation in Washington, plus you're kept up to date on all of the latest changes and issues in our industry. Now let's hear more about NAB membership with Marcellus
And now we're joined by Marcellus Alexander, NAB's Executive Vice President of Television. Welcome, Marcellus.
It's good to be here, Jen.
Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Can you tell our audience, why is it important for broadcasters to be NAB members?
Well, the issues facing our business today are no less than seismic in their nature. And whether you're talking about retransmission consent, the Stellar reauthorization, or the spectrum auction, these are game-changing kinds of issues that require our industry to have a very strong trade association representing them in Washington, D.C.
What do you think the landscape would look like if NAB was not advocating on behalf of broadcasters?
One word, bleak. Our opponents would have free rein on Capitol Hill and at the FCC, rolling over any requests or needs that our industry has. And that's not the kind of situation, obviously, that we need. We need to have, again, an offensive and defensive strategy on behalf of our industry. And a strong trade association allows us to do that. We are I like to say, the hockey goalie in the net for our industry, knocking back bad proposals and then going on offense to promote innovation and new things that the industry and our business can bring to the public.
It sounds like advocacy is a very important and good reason for broadcasters to be engaged with NAB as members. But can you tell us what are other reasons why broadcasters would want to be an NAB member?
Well, clearly advocacy is number one because, again, as I've mentioned, strong representation, whether it's in Congress, at the FCC, or in the courts, is extremely important. We also have, through the NAB, very good advice, legal advice, technical advice, and others to our members. And that saves members money in the long run. And we also, in addition to those two things, have ways that stations can generate more revenue through some of our programs. So the combination of advocacy, good legal and technical and other advice, as well as finding ways to increase your revenues are all three good reasons to be members of the NAB.
If someone watching right now wanted to join as an NAB member because you've given such great reasons to join, how can they find that information?
Well, the easiest thing to do would be to go to our website, and we have a membership tab that they can access a lot of the information. But more personally, Deanna Babb Coleman is the head of our membership department, and she is ready, willing, and able to fill in any information they need to become members of the NAB.
Thanks, Marcellus, for joining us today.
NAB Show Studio 1 sits right next to one of the busiest places here. No, not the food court. Well, that's kind of nearby, but the NAB Store. There you can find a ton of great stuff, including custom t-shirts, mugs, and caps, all showing off your love of the industry. There are hundreds of books on every facet that you can imagine. And look at this. Look at all this stuff. It's open today until 7 p.m. See if I can get this. Ooh, look at that. Look at what this stuff says. Eat, sleep, broadcast. I accept no feedback. Huge highlighters. Broadcasting rocks. If you buy this stuff, you are going to be the envy of your office come Monday. Again, the store is open until 7 p.m. and tomorrow it's open from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. Okay, on a more serious note here. On the show floor, Skype is talking partnerships, NVIDIA is showing off real-time 4K processing, and Canon has some new lenses. It's all in today's trending tech. Do I get to keep some of this?
Hi, I'm talking to you from the Microsoft stand, and I'm here from Skype to talk about our new product release called Skype TX. It's a new Skype client specifically made for broadcasters to interact directly with studio infrastructures. We output HDSDI and audio to enable Skype to empower broadcasters to have Skype on air. We're currently releasing a preview program here for select clients, and in about 9 months' time the product will be commercially available for everyone to buy up and use and install in their studios. So come down to the Skype stand and meet the team here at Skype TX to have the opportunity to sign up to our preview program. It'd be great to have you on board.
Hi, I'm Andrew Page, product manager here at NVIDIA at NAB 2014. We're showing a new product here that we announced a couple of weeks ago at our GPU Technology Conference called the NVIDIA iRay VCA. The iRay in that name is the name of one of our renderers, which for a lot of the NAB crowd they may not be familiar with. So it's a photorealistic renderer that's used by lots of auto companies in the virtual prototyping stage. And so we built the iRay VCA as a way to bring lots of GPU power to that rendering. We also have software that lives on the iRay VCA that lets you put multiple of them in a data center. So if your rendering problem requires hundreds of GPUs, the iRay VCA is a way to bring that to you. Once it's paired with a compatible renderer, or a renderer that's friendly to the VFX in the broadcast world, like Chaos's V-Ray RT, you can use it to generate virtual sets, pre-bake your textures, do actual animation, final frame rendering. This is a way to go ahead and deliver your shots with the creative control and features that you want to get the look and final pieces that are needed.
Hi there, I'm Paul McNiff with Canon USA Professional Engineering and Solutions Division. I'm here at NAB 2014. People are coming into Central Hall where you can find our booth to look at a lot of things, and the three things that are new that have got people very excited. One, and probably the biggest thing, is our new PL mount Cine Servo Zoom 17 to 120 millimeter 295 lens. The other things that they're coming in to see, we've got a new addition to the XF series. That's going to be the XF 200/205. Those have been upgraded now from the original XF series. They shoot MP4 files as well as the original MXF files that are the XF codec, and they can now do 1080 60p. They've been upgraded with 3G SDI in order to support the output of that 1080 60p. And then the final thing that we have is we have a new 18 times ENG HD lens.
And here to talk more about what Canon has out here on the show floor at NAB Show 2014, Chuck Westfall, the Technical Advisor for Professional Imaging Group at Canon. Thanks so much for joining us up here live.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, so we saw a little bit about what you guys are showing off on the floor there. Can you tell me more about that stuff? Are people excited about it?
Absolutely. We can't get people close enough to some of those lenses because absolutely everybody wants to see them. So we have a new Cine Servo lens that they mentioned that is very popular for not only the broadcast industry, but also for the independent documentary filmmakers. And so what's going on there is that now they can shoot with the Super 35 sensor, which is a very large image sensor compared to what they're used to, and be able to shoot over-the-shoulder type work with a zoom lens, or be able to take that same lens and put it into a cinema rig. It's a very, very flexible lens.
What are the questions? What questions are you getting from folks that are visiting your booth?
People want to know what we're doing to help them out in terms of image quality and also in terms of autofocus, believe it or not. Even though they're professional, they're starting to become aware of how much autofocus can benefit what they're doing, especially with these new large sensors.
Yeah, so on that note, I know that with some of the cameras, you can actually send it in, you'll swap out the manual focus for an autofocus.
Actually, it's a C100 and C300 camera that has a dual pixel CMOS AF upgrade. We don't have to change the sensor, but we do turn on the AF feature, and then we calibrate it so that people will be able to have autofocus added into their existing camera.
Now it's interesting because you think that these professionals would want to do manual focus, but why is it so helpful to have that autofocus for the broadcast quality?
There's so many typical situations where trying to hold focus is a difficult thing at best with a large sensor. And I'll give you an example. When we're doing interviews, such as what we're talking about right now, you might have a subject that kind of goes in and out and in and out. And if you don't have autofocus, it's a little bit tough sometimes to hold that sharp picture. With our system, that is no longer a problem. You just basically turn that feature on and it takes care of it.
Now, I think they spoke a little bit about some of the news gathering. I'm a news reporter, so of course I'm interested. What are you doing for like the news gathering folks?
Well, and again, for the news gathering folks, that XF 200 and 205, those are the small chip camcorders that we introduced here at the show. And they're terrific because they give those folks so many different options on how to shoot their work and be able to get it out of the camera and into the production workflow. And
what about 4K? What's Canon doing with 4K?
We have really expanded our presence. Right now we have two different cameras that can shoot 4K. The EOS 1DC, which is our SLR type camera, and we also have the C500, which is our cinema type camera that does 4K raw video. And here at the show, we are showing the 4K reference display. So now we have both the image capture on the camera side and the image display, which is very important for editing the footage.
How long have you been in this industry?
I have been with Canon since 1982.
Okay.
and I've seen a lot of changes over that time.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of those changes. Is it interesting to you, this idea of this professional equipment has really trickled down into consumer grade products? I mean, anyone can create nowadays.
Yeah, it's one of the objectives that we've had at Canon is to try and make high image quality accessible to as many people as possible. And we really got into that pretty heavily on the video side once we introduced the 5D Mark II back in 2008. And it's just expanded more and more to the point where virtually all of our cameras, all the way from the consumer grade up to the tie-in, can now do full HD or better.
And let's be honest, Canon has fanboys because of it. They love your products and they love using them. Let's talk about being out here at NAB Show. What do you get out of it? What do you enjoy most of being here?
Well, one of the most important things for us, of course, is a chance to connect with our customers face to face. And we really enjoy that quite a lot because we learn so much from them. We find out what it is that's on their mind and what it is that they'd like to see coming from us. At the same time, we're able to kind of get a sense of the overall trends of the industry from everybody else that's around us, all the other exhibitors.
And if you're not here at NAB Show, what do you think? Are you at a disadvantage?
I think the NAB Show is the prime spot for our professional imaging products, no question about it. We are able to see some targeted segments of our group in other shows, but there is no place like NAB to really get the overall feel of the industry.
And how many years have you been coming here?
This is now about roughly 10 years.
Okay, you're going to like this next story. We have an interesting one. Chuck Westfall from Canon, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate that. The numbers are in for NAB Show 2014. These are still preliminary, but 98,015 of you made the trip here to Las Vegas. That's over 4% more from last year. And believe it or not, there is one attendee that has been coming to the NAB Show 51 times now. Rachel Kopchak has the story.
One very devoted salesman from Continental Electronics has caught the eye of NAB Show President Gordon Smith. He's honored salesman David Holtzman with a certificate for attending the NAB Show for 51 consecutive years.
I keep coming back year after year because it's my job now. Well, in the early years, it was to see the new products that I was wishing and hoping for at my radio stations that I worked for. But later on, after I moved into sales, it's part of our job, and also we get to see many of our customers that we already had, and we get to meet new customers and find new applications for what new products we may have at the time. It was a small show when I went to my first one in Chicago, taking up exhibit rooms in 2 hotels, and now we're to the point where we take up 4 miles of exhibit halls, it seems like. You can't even see everything here in 3 or 4 days. You have to make a list before you get here.
Where do you see the industry as a whole going in the future?
Oh, I wish I could answer that question. We're in an evolutionary stage right now. The television people have their problems and the radio industry has its problems, but this has been a pretty vibrant industry for many years, and it'll evolve and find new niches to fill and new ways to advertise and continue our growth, I'm certain.
Congratulations, Mr. Holtzman. We know we'll be seeing you at the NAB Show in 2015.
Kudos to him. How neat is that? Let's go for year number 52 next year. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the social posts you are sharing online, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We have one here from John Phillips. He said, "We're awash in 4K and gods of data." Wonder if he meant gobs. I don't know. UAVs are proliferation gas prices are coming down quickly. Great platform for innovative storytelling. Hashtag NAB Show, and his Twitter handle is EVTech. And yes, we are seeing a lot of those drones all over the place here. And I got a chance to check one out. Super cool. Okay, Daryl says, "I'm tweeting like crazy this week on the exhibition and sessions. All of it is great. Hashtag NAB Show 2014K, best year." Yes, it is. All right, let's take a look at some of the numbers. Reached 32,491,978. And how about those impressions? 227,961,188. See how many Instagrams you guys have posted, 6,217. Wonder how many of those are selfies. And finally, your tweets, 26,429. Man, it is tough to read through all those. Thanks to our friends at Red Button TV for helping us do that. Okay, here's a man who knows about
I know about buttons, I know about numbers.
And you know about numbers, yes,
exactly
because
right,
they kill it online. Roy Seekoff is the founding editor of the Huffington Post and the president of HuffPost Live. Thanks so much for joining us up here today.
I am thrilled to be here.
You were delivering the keynote at the Disruptive Media Conference.
Indeed.
Are you a disruptor?
We like to be. You know, that's one of the goals, is to see what is working in the marketplace, where is the holes, and then try to go, you know, the old Vince Lombardi thing, go where they're not.
Tell us what you're doing with HuffPost Live and why it's different from, say, a cable channel.
Yeah, you know, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the format of talk TV or talk television, talk radio, and marry it with the interactivity of the internet. So that's really what we do. We're not trying to create a new brand. I'm the founding editor of the Huffington Post. So what we decided to do is, how do we take all the things that are great about the Huffington Post and bring them to this new medium of video. So that's really was the inciting thought behind it.
So people have been yelling at their TVs for thousands of years.
Exactly.
You know, they sit there and they yell back.
Yes.
You're basically giving them that platform to actually interact with what they're seeing.
Yeah, you know, it's one of my favorite comments, actually, is when people tell us that after they've been watching HuffPost Live and then they go back to watching traditional cable, that they wonder why they can't interact, why they can't comment, and they could just have to go back to yelling, which is less satisfying.
And the people, the rest of the people in your house aren't as happy.
They're not as happy, right?
How can people interact? What types of technology are you embracing for this interaction?
Yeah, you know, we want people to join us any way they can. We use a lot of Google Hangouts, which we found to be a very easy platform, very accessible platform. So we've had 19,000 people join us from 100 different countries, joining us live on the air to be part of the conversation. So we use Skype, you know, any way you can come in. You come in FaceTime. We're all about being platform agnostic and just being able to bring people, into the process, and then for people to watch it wherever they are.
You said in your keynote that live TV will win over binge TV viewing.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to watch their House of Cards all at once.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we are social animals. And you know, as much as we're disconnected by looking at our devices all the time, we really are social animals who want to connect. And I think at the end of the day, it's the virtual water cooler, right? We want to be able to say, did you see what happened last night? Whereas if I find the binge watching experience, which I do as well, to be basically antisocial. Because I'll come up to you and go, did you? You go, no, don't tell me. You're on season 2, I'm on season 1. I don't want to know. And they run away. They literally run away from you.
Yeah, it's a problem.
And so I think that in a way it becomes antisocial, and I think social media and the prevalence of it is bringing people together. Not necessarily for live, but shared viewing, right? So it could be everybody watching Game of Thrones Sunday night at 9 o'clock, because if you're not watching and the Red Wedding happens, you're in trouble.
If you can get it to stream.
Well, depends where you are, right? If you have the HBO Go, a little problem.
Yeah.
If you're watching the True Detective finale, but otherwise,
Yeah.
at least the television industry is trying their best not to go down without a fight, like the music industry did. So that's why we're seeing, you know, HBO Go, TV everywhere.
But we've ended up seeing some good things with the music industry, because now we have things like Spotify, and you know, the subscription services have kind of taken off at this point.
Good for the consumer. For the companies and the artists.
That is true.
Yeah.
What can broadcasters, traditional broadcasters, learn from what you're doing online?
Listen, I think what we're doing is we're democratizing media. Not to be too high-handed about it, but the idea is technology has allowed us to lower the bar of entry significantly. So instead of having the same 5 people come on your cable network every night, I mean, we sort of have the golden Rolodex. I talked about it a little bit earlier this morning, where they just, it's become rote. There was a school stabbing today. Okay, call this guy. The plane crash. Call that person. It's the same voices saying the same thing. So what we've really tried to do is expand that radically, because you don't have to be in New York, you don't have to be in LA or DC, and you don't have to have a satellite truck come to your house. If you have a webcam, you could join us live and be part of the conversation and have a seat at the table. And I think that's the revolution that we're seeing right now. It's the shift from a presentational mode to a participational mode. People want to be part of the conversation. They want a seat at the table. They don't want to be talked at. They want to be talked with.
And it's part of getting those people in. Historically, you couldn't easily.
Yes,
you
exactly.
might have, you do the man. I mean, obviously, I've been a reporter for many
Yeah.
years. You do the man on the street. These, random kind of people in your stories. Whereas you're saying you can really reach the people that are interested in this story, that may have something new to contribute to it, and they can just do it from their house.
Well, that's the key for us. We don't want just bloviation. We just don't want sort of opinion being said anywhere. We want people who have skin in the game. We want people who have some stake in the issue being discussed. Because for me, that's sort of a redefinition of what an expert is. So we don't really just want the man on the street thing. And the other thing is the economics, as you know, of man on the street is not so great, because you could be out there 5 hours and you come away with 1 minute of video and try to monetize that online. You got to get a lot of views for that to pay off.
So speaking of what you're doing here, I would think that you might have to walk around here kind of slyly, because what you're doing is you are a disruptor.
Yeah.
You're doing things differently than a lot of the broadcasters here. Do people want to talk to you or not want to talk to you when you walk this floor?
Well, they do. I think it's a combination. On the one hand, keep your enemies keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You want to make sure what's going on in that disruptive space, because that's the great danger in an era where innovation is happening so fast. Everybody's afraid that they're going to be caught with their head down, smacked by the innovative thing that comes along. So they want to be on top of it. And we're not afraid of that, because we're not trying to do anything surreptitious or sneaky. Our bet is that we're still a speedboat and we're willing to iterate and change fast. Some of these companies are a little bit more like a giant cruise ship. Takes a long time to turn it around.
Sure.
So for
Unless
me,
you saw Captain Phillips, they turned that boat really fast.
well, because I'm the captain now. Yes, they turned it very fast.
And have you seen anything out there on the floor that you might implement in your, obviously you guys are a technology company. You
Yes.
have a lot of tech that makes this possible.
Yes.
Have you seen anything that you like?
I am personally just been so focused on making my keynote fantastic and dynamic. I have not done it, but I have people who I pay a lot of money to walk around and come back and tell me the cool things.
I want that job.
Yeah,
I like that job.
Which job? The person to go look around and look at it, or the guy who sits back and hears it?
I'll take both.
Yeah,
How about that?
Well, one's already taken, but we'll keep you in mind for the other one.
Okay, so you now Sprocket is one of these places where they have all these disruptive startups on display, and one of them I was just thinking of. You mentioned the whole Twitter thing, how you don't want to talk about things because you haven't, you don't want to be spoiled.
Right.
And Twitter, they have one that actually is like a DVR for your Twitter feed, so you can turn back your Twitter feed to like the time when that show was live, so you can see what your friends were saying at that moment. What
That's
do you think of
interesting.
that?
It seems. I'll have to think about that, because the whole, for me, the raison d'etre of Twitter is the fact that it's timely. Is the fact that I can get off the plane, turn on my phone, and within 5 minutes know everything that I needed to know of what I missed.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I love that part
There's
about it,
something
too.
about it, but sure, I guess if there was a specific hashtag that I wanted, but I hate the experience as a sports fan. Occasionally, I've been busy during a game, and I've DVR'd it, and I'm gonna watch it, and you got to run away from people. You actually have to walk into places with your ears closed. That's a hard experience for me.
All right, Roy Seekoff, thank you so much for joining us, the founding editor of the Huffington Post and the president of HuffPost Live. What a great personality.
Me?
Yeah, how do you keep that energy all day? I don't know.
I don't know.
What
man.
are you eating?
I was born this way, much like Lady Gaga.
All right, I love it.
Yeah.
Now, this guy gives my next guest a run for his money. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. His name is Ryan Salazar. He hits the floor running every single day, and we're going to see what he has in store for us this time around.
It's day 3 of the 2014 NAB show. Of course, I've got my top 3 picks, but we've got something else. Last night I did a little inspecting, a little party inspecting. Let's take a look. All right, the party inspector here's checking everything out. Where are you guys from?
We are from France. San Francisco.
I'm from Seattle.
What you drinking?
Champagne. They're out of beer.
Oh, you're out of beer. Well, it looks like we're going to have to go to another party. Booth party inspector Salazar here. How you guys doing?
Hi.
You having a good NAB?
We're having good fun.
Doing pretty well.
Oh, yeah. Woo. Hey, Ma.
Actually, there isn't an audio problem. If there wasn't sound, we wouldn't be able to hear anything. What's picture without sound? So we're with Rick Belt of ElectroVoice. How you doing, Rick?
I'm great. How are you today?
Great. So we wanted to talk about audio, microphones, different types of microphones. What do you have here?
Well, ElectroVoice brand has been in the broadcast business and microphone business for almost 90 years. And we've invented a lot of the technology that the broadcast business has been hearing, the end users have been experiencing for decades. We specialize for broadcast in handheld interview mics like what we're doing now. Also stationary studio mics that are used in broadcast booths, right? For example, the RE20. It's industry standard. We've been listening to this in FM radio for decades. It is the sound of a classic FM broadcaster. We've got different varieties, the RE20, 27, and the new 320. So there's good variety, and I call the differences in microphones flavors. And it has a lot to do with the voice that you're capturing and the tone that you're looking to express.
Excellent. And actually, this mic that we're using right now in the interview is an ElectroVoice microphone. It's an older model or a newer model?
Well, it's been out since the 80s. This is the RE50B, and this is pretty much the industry standard for what we're doing right now, which is, I call it stick on the street or man on the street or just stick mics in general. It's omnidirectional, which means it's going to be generous in what it hears. You don't have to
go like that.
you don't have to have the mic right up on me to get my voice really well, but also it has a magical characteristic where the ambience in the room is not overwhelming. Even though it's omni, it's not hearing a lot of that stuff. So it's a very classic mic. Thanks a lot for stopping by.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
All right, we're at vocalbooth.com. How are you, Guy?
Good, Ryan. How are you doing?
Doing very well. So tell us about your vocal booth.
This happens to be a single wall model, multi-layer single wall model called the Gold Series. The size here is 5x6, but we do over 200 sizes, all the way up to 16 by 24. This has got a couple of extra goodies, a nice colored exterior, orange Oralex interior with some black trim, and it also has a hardwood floor.
Excellent. So you have ventilation systems and the whole thing, the whole 9 yards.
All vocal booths come with passive active ventilation system, complete lighting with electronic balance, so there's no interference on microphones, as well as all the cable passage ports.
Hey Sydney, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ryan. How are you doing?
Doing well. So we have Sydney from our production crew. You like the booth?
It's amazing. I can stay here all day.
Very cool. So obviously they have some nice carpeting in here, the Oralex, and then the flooring as well. Very impressive, Guy. Very impressive. Thank you so much. All right, we're with Phil Worthington at the Livestream booth. How you doing, Phil?
Doing great, thank you.
Excellent. So tell me, I'm looking at these glasses, and these are the coolest things. If you could bring those up for our camera.
Okay. So this is Google Glass. We launched today a new Livestream Google Glass app, so you can stream direct from your glass to Livestream. Have your viewers chat with you inside the lens of the glass. You know, this is a revolutionary point of view camera. Stream direct to Livestream with one click.
Very cool. Now, you mentioned that you could potentially interact with this video switcher that you actually designed yourself, right?
Right, exactly. So a second mode of the Glass app is actually that instead of streaming direct to the Livestream platform, you can put in a mode that streams directly to our Livestream Studio software. So this is a multi-camera live production switcher. We're launching a whole new line of hardware, software, combination products. And the Glass, along with iPhones, Androids, or our broadcaster, can all be used as remote cameras now alongside your SDI, HDMI workflows in here. And this is the new control surface. We launched this today. So again, tailor-made for studio, expandable. We have a second unit if you need to use more tracks.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Phil. Channel opportunity, the way to play in a digital world. That's what the 2014 NAB show is all about. I saw some amazing audio and video products, met some really cool people from all over the world, and had a blast at NAB show. I can't wait to see you next year.
He totally got me with that microphone bit, but who knew Sydney was such a good singer? Ryan Salazar joining us now live on stage. You had some great segments this week.
Thanks.
Did you really have some good hands-on time with these products?
Yeah, I was really impressed with the AJA Scion camera and Evid Everywhere more than anything.
And I have a laundry list of things I want to buy. I want to get that drone with a little GoPro attached to it for some shots. Are you going to purchase anything the next year that you saw out there?
I want the vocal booth that we recorded Sydney in. It was awesome.
All right, Ryan Salazar, BroadcastBeat.com. Thanks so much for joining us this year on NAB Show Live. We do appreciate it. All right, let's take a look at what's ahead tomorrow at NAB Show 2014. It's the last day of the show. 11 a.m., there's a general session, Online Disruptors, Big Blockers to Big Data. Tomorrow is the last day of NAB Show 2014. The show floor opens at 9 a.m. It closes at 2 p.m. I'll be back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for another edition of NAB Show Live. Until then, I'm Rich DeMiro. Have a fantastic evening. And remember, this is the night you win it all back.